Welcome to the Motherhood and podcast. My name is Anna from That's What's Up, and I am joined by my co-host Sophia from Foster's Homestead. Welcome to our almost end of the season. Yeah, we have one more episode, and we're here talking about motherhood and lots of other things because we're not just moms. And I think today we're honestly just talking about lots of things because we don't know what we're talking about. It's been chaotic the last couple of weeks. We ended up skipping a week of recording, and just life happening. So we're back though, and we have today's episode, and we have one more episode, our season finale, and then we'll have a 3-week break before we start season 2. So today is going to be just kind of chill and maybe chaotic, because it might be hard to follow with as many rabbit trails as I go down on a topic. We're probably going to be bouncing conversations a lot, so we'll see how it flows. We have not really ever done a topicless conversation, we have topicless conversations, but we haven't recorded that way, so we'll see how it goes, see if that's something that y'all like, and yeah. You look really cute today. I like your outfit.
Oh, thanks.
I look like a homeless person.
No, it's literally just a dress with a crab t-shirt of my mother's, so I think it's because I put my hair together, maybe.
No, it's really cute. Okay. I am currently wearing my husband's t-shirt, and that's, well, I also have on a skirt, but other than that, that's about it. Because I have been trying to, savagely clean my basement house today, because we live in my parents' basement. And, we're currently also in the middle of VBS at church, and so we've had a lot going on, and, I have gotten a little behind, or a lot behind. I feel like I'm always behind, let's be real. So today was just hop out of the bed, throw something on, and get to work. And so currently I'm folding my laundry. Y'all get to see literally my underwear. Because that's what I just picked up. Didn't occur to me until I was holding a pair of my granny panties. Look, okay. I'm gonna be honest. I recently bought new underwear. Not these, but these are actually maternity underwear that I...
These are actually brand new fancy underwear.
Yes, totally. Since you're seeing my undies, it's just, maternity underwear. But I recently bought some new underwear, and I, for the first time in probably my adult life, bought these underwear not for, these look cute, or I think I'm gonna look sexy when I wear these, but I bought them because they were the cut that I like, and I feel fully comfortable in the fact that I know that I like a full coverage pair of underwear, and I'm gonna rock that, I don't need to have a thong wedged up my crack to feel cute. Mm. And if you are still in that stage of life and you think that thongs are the way to go and that thongs are comfortable, you've somehow gaslit yourself into thinking that. It's okay to admit that comfort and thongs do not end up in the same sentence together rationally. It's not true. I have a friend who tried to convince me of that recently when I told her that I bought granny panties, and she was like, "Oh, you're not wearing thongs anymore?" And I was like, "Of course I'm not wearing thongs anymore. Who is wearing thongs anymore?"
I never wore them. I have always either bought, recently I bought the organic Costco pack of granny panty underwear because it's comfortable.
Hey, no shame.
And okay, even when I was first married, I had maybe like 3 like sexy underwear.
Okay.
But I always just wore regular underwear, like full coverage. Like is it brief? I think that's the cut, is brief.
I think, yeah. I think that's what it is. Yeah, because I think that's what I bought. It was briefs. I don't like the boy shorts. Those are horrible. And they roll up your legs, and then it's like bulky underwear clothes. I don't like those. But in the bikinis, there's not enough coverage.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think brief is what it is. Yeah. It's a little like, it's more high waisted too.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's, I don't know. I might find a pair in here in a minute. I'll let you know.
That's gonna hold up my underwear.
I want to say whenever I was a late teenager, I went shopping with my friends at Victoria's Secret and thought that I was hot stuff. And whenever I had myself a man, I was gonna be wearing cute, sexy underwear. And I did for a time. Beauty is pain, so they say. And whenever I got married, I got a lot of underwear at the bridal shower that they threw for me. Yeah, I tried to wear the underwear that I got for my wedding shower for a while, but they're horribly uncomfortable, and my butt looks just as nice covered as it does uncovered, so... I figure my husband can appreciate both, and I'm just gonna wear the granny panties.
Yeah. Well, okay. Here's my thing. Like, before you're married, while you're dating, while you're engaged, you're like, oh, I'm gonna look so sexy around the house. I'm gonna wear lingerie 24/7. And then you get married, and your husband's gone at work. So who are you gonna wear this lingerie for? Like, yes, you can wear it at night, like, for intimacy, but it just comes right off. So in my opinion, it's just kind of a waste sometimes.
Yeah, it's never on long enough to actually be appreciated.
Right. Yeah.
And you, like, if you're in the moment, you can't be like, okay, pause, let me go put on some lace real quick, Like, that's not happening. You're just taking stuff off, so.
Yep. I do think there's a place and a time for it, but it's very rare, I feel like.
Yeah. If you have the time and you have the situation to be able to, like, prepare ahead of time, then that's a good opportunity, but that's, like, very few and far between, in my experience. Especially once you have kids. It's like, okay, we got 20 minutes, because this nap isn't going to last for very long. You ready to go?
Yep.
That's about how it goes, yeah. But anyhow, panties aside, how are you?
Ay. I'm half fine, half on the verge of wanting to burn my house down. Anna knows this, I told her, but for the audience, so we have lived in our house that we have now for almost a year. And when we first bought it, we were living up in Oregon, so we had to fly down to tour it, make sure we liked it, and then sign the paperwork. So we did all that. When we took the tour, we walked in all the bedrooms, everything. And there wasn't a bad smell. There wasn't, like, any red flags in my mind regarding the smell of the house. It just smelled like an empty house to me. And me, Christian, the realtor, and my mother and father toured it. So, like, there was other people's opinions, and no one brought up, like, oh, it smells kind of bad in here. Like, is there an issue? Is there not? Anyway, so we bought the house, moved in. And then I gave birth in that house. So I think it was 4 months that we lived there before I actually had her. So as the months went by, we slowly started noticing like this I would call it musty smell at first. And I was like, what the heck is that? Like, okay, maybe we just need to clean the walls, clean the floors, open the windows. Maybe it's just that it's been sitting for a while and the house just needs aired out. So I did all that, and then as I was wiping the walls down, this yellow/brown substance was coming out of the walls onto my rag. And I was like, huh, that's really weird. And for a while, couldn't figure out exactly what it was. Because the color prior to them, like, painting over the house to sell it was like a yellow. So I thought it was like the paint coming through the new coat of paint. Anyways, months go by, the smell starts to get worse, and then like kind of reached like a pinnacle a couple days ago. And I was like going around asking everybody that I knew. I was like, okay, what does our house smell like? Does it smell like smoke to you? Does it smell stale to you? Does it smell like must to you? And like going around and like interviewing everybody that has been in our house. And my in-laws had come to visit when Hadassah was a month old, and they didn't smell a thing. And my mother-in-law is very sensitive to alcohol, smoke. So she for sure would have said something. So she didn't say anything in the moment, and then she didn't say anything, like, when I personally asked her, like, does our house smell bad to you? So, asked her, she said no, my father-in-law said no, and then I asked my brother, and he was like, oh yeah, your house smells like cigarettes. And I had, like the drop in the pit of my stomach, like, anxiety came over me, and I was like, well, crap.
Like, and why are you just now telling me this?
Right. So, yeah. It all reached a pinnacle a couple days ago, and now we're 99% sure it's smoke, and it's in the walls, and it's in the ceilings, and in our, like, investigation, we come to find out that there was a chain smoker that lived there, which just... I'm so angry at the guy, even though I don't know the guy. It's like, really, you couldn't control your habits, and now I'm having to deal with it. And I know it's, like, technically not the guy's fault that he, like, that we bought his smoke-filled house. Like, I know he couldn't think of that in the future. Well, maybe he could have, but I don't know. It just makes me really mad at the person. And it was the son of the parents who lived there. Because we, like, while living there, like, got to know the neighbors, and then the neighbors were the ones that told us, like, that the son was a chain smoker, and I found out some just information about the people who lived there. So we are staying at my parents', and we are, like, trying to come up with what to do, because...
I mean, what do you do in that situation? Like, is there something that you can do, like, with the contract if they don't disclose certain things? Or how does that work in buying a house? I don't...
Yeah. I don't know. Christian... Actually, a text, just because my iPad and phone are connected, and Christian has a phone. The text just came through from our realtor. And something talking about the contract. So Christian is looking into that because I believe that there's like if you smoke in the house, you're supposed to disclose that to the people buying your house. But yeah, we're looking into that right now, so we're not 100% sure at all about that. And yeah, I don't know. Honestly, we're just kind of like, well, let's just sell it and find somewhere else. We've already wanted to find more land. Like, we knew that this wasn't going to be our permanent place whatsoever. So that's our top idea right now, is just selling the house. Yeah. But if there is something like legally that we can do, I would want to do that, like, for the future of the other people that are going to buy the house. Like, if it comes back that they didn't disclose, they lied to us, and then they're responsible to fix it, I would want them to like pay to fix it or whatever, and then us sell the house. But yeah, it was just like, I don't know. It's when you like find out a problem is a problem when you didn't know it was a problem, and you have like this like, oh my gosh, I was living like that and I smelled like that and people didn't say anything, and now I feel like an idiot, and now I'm like self-conscious.
That's a tough spot to be in.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wish I like had better thoughts to offer, but I don't know like where to even start when it comes to something like that. It's terrible that y'all have had to be living in that environment, and having the baby in that environment, and but what could you do? You don't know until you know. So
right.
Now you're doing what you can given the circumstance. But
it was just kind of weird because nobody smelt it walking in, but over the months it got worse. So I was like trying to think of like, well, did they? Because I know they had freshly painted before we bought the house. So I was like, oh, well, did they like paint to cover it up, and it only covered it up for a few months, and now it's coming out through the walls. I don't know. Christian did research, and the conclusion was that you can get rid of smoke smell, but you can't get rid of the actual chemicals that are in cigarettes. Like, the toxic chemicals will always be there unless you rip the walls and rip the ceilings out.
So you would have to totally replace the drywall.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yep. And also in the air ducts, because as the AC circulated as they were smoking, it's in the air ducts as well. Or ductwork, I think is what you call it. So yeah, I'm like, I don't know, stressed a little bit, but also relieved at the same time.
So if y'all do decide to sell, I know you've considered like moving outside of Texas before. If you were to sell and like.
He's like, when mom talks, I'm gonna scream.
If you do decide to sell, would y'all stay in the same area that you're at now? Because I know y'all have previously mentioned like you would be open to moving outside of Texas. So do you know what that would look like?
Yeah. We talked about it today. And we've been like working through that because we've always struggled, like, do we want to move out? Like somewhere else where we don't have family. And I think we kind of came to the conclusion today that, especially with how finances are, like how the U.S. is right now, like that's not a good idea, and it's not feasible for us to go like move somewhere where we don't have family around, or we don't like know anybody that could like really help us like when we needed it. So if we were to move out of Texas, it would be back to Oregon. I don't see that happening. But I think we've come to the conclusion that we're not going to move away from family, at least right now. Especially with having a younger baby and then wanting more children. So
yeah, that's totally understandable.
Yeah.
We're actively trying to move away from family in the sense of moving out of my family's house.
Right.
And that seems to be proving itself to be really difficult and hard. So I don't know that we've ever recorded on 2 different days before for one episode. We were having not what I would call technical difficulties, but more like unmanageable babies and time constraints. So we paused our recording yesterday and we're picking back up sort of where we left off. I just got out of the shower and washed my hair for the first time in 2 weeks. Because we had I host a mother's circle, and we had this month's meeting today, and we did a pool party this month. So that was really fun, but I don't know if like my head has just been buried in the sand the last couple weeks, because the mother's circle is every second Thursday. And it's definitely the first Thursday of the month. So I sent everybody the wrong dates. I messed up like the whole timing of the schedule because like they know it's every second Thursday. So some of the moms were like, okay, well we can't make it because that's not what we planned for. And so that was poor planning on my part. But I had it on my calendar, and I still somehow managed to notify everyone of the wrong day. So, still had some friends over and went swimming. That was fun. Gave me a good reason to wash my hair, which I don't know if I've really talked about it here on the podcast at all. I have been dabbling in the historical hair care realm of things and methods. So for the last few months, I've been washing it with eggs, like just raw eggs. I crack it in a cup and then scramble it with my fingers, get it all in there, cleanse my hair with egg, rinse with cold water, otherwise you will scramble eggs in your hair. I learned that the hard way whenever I was a teenager, and I did like an egg hair mask, and just I take I don't know if you've seen the Instagram reel where the guy, he's like touching like hot metal and he's like cutting it with and it's like me testing the water for my shower. Those are the kind of showers I take. And I tried to rinse out this egg hair mask with scalding hot water, and I picked egg out of my hair for probably a solid week. It was so bad. So learned that a long time ago. Been washing it with eggs, rinsing in cold water, and conditioning, for a lack of a better term, with diluted apple cider vinegar rinses. Yeah. And I've been liking it so far, actually. It's been doing a good job.
That's good. You said, you had mentioned to me one time about like a boar bristle brush. Have you like learned anything about that or seen anything working with that?
So I did get one, um, and the biggest like advantage, I guess you would say, like the concept of it is that it's hair brushing hair, so it's a stiff, like it's pig hair, um, and so the fibers are able to easily distribute oil throughout the hair. So, like, as you brush, it's supposed to be able to pull oil from the scalp and distribute it through your ends, to, like, keep the oil moving around properly so your hair doesn't, like, look greasy at the scalp. I have a curly hair type. So, I don't do a lot of brushing. Um, in fact, more often than not, I will not brush my hair in between washes. I will just brush right before I wash my hair, and then I will detangle afterward, if when I rinse it gets a little tangled up. Um, but especially if I wash my hair and then I do, like, I set it for it specifically to be like, you know, really defined curls, then I won't brush it. But I have used it a little bit, like when I'm doing updos and things like that. It's really effective. The boar bristle brush is really effective at like slicking the hair. So if you like a really sleek bun look, it's really good for that. And it's really been beneficial in laying down my postpartum hairs because those things have gotten crazy. But if I just put a little bit of water, I wish I could take the picture yesterday because I pulled my hair back in a ponytail and I just had this crown around the frame of my face. Um, and the boar bristle brush does a really good job at keeping those down, and like doing that really sleek finish. Um, but I haven't done it a lot for the purpose that it's made for, I guess, of moving the oil from here to here because I don't just brush regularly.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things where, like, a normal brush, like a conventional brush, has long fingers that go through the hair and then detangle as it goes. The boar bristle brush, it has kind of long fibers, but it's so densely packed, it doesn't go through the hair. It's just on the surface, and it kind of like closes the cuticle as it goes around the hair.
Hmm.
It's I've watched a lot of videos on YouTube from, I think her name is Catherine Sewing, um, Catherine with a K, and she does a lot of like historical clothing reproductions and things like that. But she's really big into historical hair care. And I came across her page a few months back and went down this deep dive, and so now I'm washing my hair with eggs. Here we are.
Is that what she does?
No, she actually is. I don't even know how you pronounce it. It's some kind of clay, like Rasulan clay or Rasalan clay. I think it comes from India, um, and she orders it from like Amazon or something like that. But I was trying to use something that was, I mean, Amazon is easily accessible. We know this, but I wanted something that I could just buy at the store and like not ever run out of. And I always have eggs somewhere, or I can go to the gas station if I need to get eggs. And I just do one egg for a hair washing, and for the last several years, I've gone anywhere between like 4 to 7 days between hair washes. So I'd either do like twice a week or once a week. And since I've started doing the egg washes, I've moved that from 1 week to 2 weeks. And I feel like I haven't really noticed an increase in greasiness in my hair. Like, it still looks the same. it's not getting any more oily than it was before. And about halfway through that time, if I notice like, okay, it's a little too much for my comfort, then I will brush it through with the bristle brush, boar bristle brush, to distribute the oil, and then I'll add a little bit of arrowroot powder at my roots, like, and then kind of absorb some of the moisture. But I've been liking it. Would you consider ever doing that?
I think I've done something similar before, like as a mask, like you mentioned. But that was probably when I was a teenager. I don't know. I feel like my hair gets oily so fast, like 3 days, and it's like, wow, did you just dunk your head in a bucket of oil? So, and I know that like you have to like condition your scalp and like get it accustomed to waiting longer, so then it'll like reevaluate or like recenter itself, whatever it's called. But I feel like I just can't wait that long to be able to go out in public looking like that. So
you should have done hair training during COVID. Nobody would have seen you.
Yes, true.
That's the same argument I used on my husband. Tried to convince him to let me cut his hair. And because like we were at home for months and we didn't see anybody. Well, I mean, we had like friends come and go. Honestly, COVID wasn't like a ton different for us, but
yeah,
at least for the circle of people that we were in. But I mean, like he was not working. He didn't have to go to work anymore. He was working from home, and like there were some things that changed. And I was like, well, you're not getting a haircut because his hairdresser, or what do guys call that?
Barber.
His barber was not cutting hair, and so he was like getting shaggy. And I was like, just let me try. We'll order a kit from Amazon. I am someone who believes I can do anything if I have enough practice. I was like, give me one time. If it's bad, it'll grow out, and then I'll know what to do better for next time. And he absolutely refused. He will not let me touch his hair. It's like this one thing that he will not let me do.
Yeah, I don't understand that, because that's like my biggest, like, I don't know, tip. Like if a young married woman was like, so what do you recommend, like to save money? I'd be like, oh, cut your husband's hair, because it's, I don't know how much your husband pays, 50 maybe?
Yeah, usually about, like 45, I think, after he leaves a tip.
Yeah. And he gets, what, every 3 weeks?
Every 2 to 3. He really, like, to look clean, he deserved to go every 1.5 to 2 weeks, because he just grows hair like crazy. But he sticks it every 2 to 3 to kind of like keep our pocketbook a little bit, That was my argument though for him, and you could have done the same with the hair training, but it is a weird phase to go through, because I did it years ago, because I used to wash my hair every day whenever I was a teenager. Washed it every single day, and then I slowly built up that tolerance to go longer and longer. But there are some funky days in between, for sure.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't understand, like, I know it's like he probably has his thing, like, because I have my thing that I'm like, Christian is not touching. I think everybody has that, but I don't know, I cut my own husband's hair, and his hair is so thick and oily, and it's so thick that it will give you splinters. His hair has like splintered into my skin. Yeah, and growing up,
how does that even happen?
I don't know. It's so thick and sharp. But his mom grew up, or while he was growing up, his mom cut his hair, and she would get hair splinters all the time. And like when she was teaching me to cut his hair while we were dating and engaged, she was like, "You gotta be careful because his hair will give you splinters."
That's wild.
Anyways, yeah, he's always had. I think went to the barber maybe twice. But I just give him a buzz cut. I don't really do like the fancy side, shorter than the top, fade. I don't do that. I tried it once, and I look back on the pictures, and I'm like, oh, that was not good. So
my husband is really
buzz
particular
for him
about his hair, and I think that's probably why. And his dad is that way too. So like his dad won't let his mom touch his hair. So I think it's kind of like, you know, Christian grew up getting his hair cut by his mom, and Caleb grew up going to the barber with his dad. And it's like, you know, part of their, I don't know what to call it really, but so I've asked him if he's gonna let me do Rowan's hair whenever he needs a haircut, which he's just over a year old and just now starting to get some fluff on top where you can see it. So it's still gonna be a while. But I've asked him, like, are you gonna let me cut his hair? And he told me, he's like, probably not. So, which I think he will probably want to take him like for his first haircut.
Yeah.
And then from there on, he probably really won't care that much as long as it looks good. But, and I haven't ever cut anybody's hair before, so it would be a new experience for me. But I think it's like, you know, we don't have a lot of, him nor I are really high maintenance in the like personal or body care type of areas. Like we keep ourselves groomed. That's not what I mean, but like we don't have a lot of those extra things. So I think it's just his thing that he likes to do. And which, speaking of that, I actually went and got a mani pedi a couple weeks ago for the wedding that I was in. And I don't know if you ever go, if you go frequently and get those. I do not. It's maybe like once a year, if that. But every single time I go, I know they're not con artists. That's not what I mean when I say that. But like, they're so good at talking you into stuff. And I can't say no to them. I was just going to get my toes done. And I don't ever put polish on. I never do polish. And so she was like, are you going to do polish? And I was like, no, no polish. She's like, are you sure you don't want clear? And I was like, no, just the pedicure. And by the end of it, she's like, are you sure? And she said, are you going to do a manicure? Because I know she saw that I had like a chipped nail. And she's, you know, looking at my janky hands thinking this girl really needs a manicure. And so she's like, are you going to do a manicure? And so I'm trying to be nice. And I was like, oh no, I'll think about it. And then the next thing I know, my pedicure is over with. And she's got my hands in a bowl of water. And I was like, oh, I guess I'm getting a manicure now. And then by the time that was over with, I was like, okay, I guess I'll do clear on my hands. Why not? And then she did it on my hands, and I was like, well, go ahead and put it on my feet. So I walked away with a lot more on my bill than I had anticipated. But all that to be said, a couple of days later, we were sitting in church, and Caleb leaned over to me, and he was like, hey, I really like your nails. And I was like, oh, okay. So I asked him, I was like, is that something that is like something special that I could do, you know, that you would like? That's kind of like a little treat or something. For him, you know, we want to beautify ourselves for our husbands. And there's a lot of the ways that I used to do that. I don't do that anymore. So I was like, okay, can I treat you with this? So I ordered a pack. It's like a two pack of a base layer and a top layer of just like clear polish. and I redid my nails a few days ago. You can't even really see it because it's just clear. It's not super shiny or anything, but it is. I typically like just a natural nail, but I am feeling like a little girly, with my polished nails. So, yeah. And I found a clean brand too. So, if you want a drop for that one.
Yeah, I know there are clean ones out there. I don't know any of the names off the top of my head. I don't follow some people
as if I forced it. I didn't do that. I don't know if you know who Organic Bunny is, but I used to follow her a few years ago on Instagram, and she is like a girl's girl, like all the things girly, but she's very non-toxic. And she has a brand called Organic Bunny, and she does like all the research and the sourcing for non-toxic, like everything girly products and stuff. So I just went to her website and trusted her recommendation, and it's Be Kind, but like B with no E, so BKIND is the brand of the nail polish, and it's like 21 free of like all these different toxic chemicals and things and stuff like that. So, yeah.
I feel like I grew up climbing trees, climbing our fences, barefoot in these like yoga flared flowy pants all the time. So I feel like I kind of grew up like...
Was it the gaucho pants?
I don't know what they're called. They're always like yoga pants.
Or they're like
yoga and then they flare. Like, say that again?
Yeah, like really wide leg.
Yeah.
I always call those gaucho.
Like it looks like it could be a skirt.
Yes. Oh, okay. So we always call those gaucho pants, but I know a lot of people who call them culottes. And I don't even know where the word culotte comes from or what it means, but that's what they called them, was culottes. So,
I will have to Google it after.
I remember people wearing those pants growing up, so I know exactly what you're talking about. That like is bringing back flashbacks in my mind.
So I feel like I wasn't like a girly girl growing up, but I would have like my moments where I really liked to like get into like the girly stuff. And I feel like I'm that way now. Like I'm much more feminine now than I used to be when I was younger. I think everybody is. Well, maybe not everybody, but I feel like as you age, you tend to be... That's not even true. I don't know. I'm going to stop speaking in generalizations. For myself, it's true. But even now, I feel like sometimes I'll be like... Because I usually don't wear makeup. But every once in a while, I'll be like, oh, I really want to like... order some clean makeup and put some makeup on and like do my hair and like look nice going out for like nothing and like look nice for my husband. So I feel like I'm kind of in that right now. Not that I look like that. I mean, I'm wearing a dress, but I was like, yesterday I was like, I really want to look nice and like do my hair and just go out to the grocery store with Christian. So might do that.
I thought you looked super cute yesterday. I even told you that.
Thank you.
Your hair. So no, I totally get what you're saying, but at the same time, I struggle with like being able to follow through with that because I have the thoughts of, well, I want to do this. Like I want to beautify myself for my husband or even for myself. Just like to feel a bit more feminine. And then it's like, okay, well, why would I get a manicure whenever I'm digging in the dirt in the garden or walking around barefoot outside and I have calluses all over my feet? Like, it's not worth it. Why, when I'm getting spit up on and I'm covered in snot from a runny-nosed child all day, like, do I still wear the pretty dress? Do the boogers on it matter? Like, what is the line here? And so, yeah. So I do find myself falling in the pit of just wearing whatever is available and, functional for the day. Mm-hmm. But I think that you absolutely can have function and beauty, and I need to veer more that direction.
Yeah. Yeah, me and Christian were driving to, was it to Costco? No. We were going to the store. And that day, I think it was like 3 days ago, and that day I had put a dress on, like actually did my hair, got myself ready, and I actually felt, not like fancy, but I felt pretty, I felt clean, I felt like I put more effort in than normal. And sometimes for me, like, a simple task can seem humongous, like, in my brain. I'm like, I need to do this, but there's, like, something, and I tend to feel it, like, here in my body. I'm like, there's something prohibiting me from doing this. Even though, like, it could be so simple to just go and do it. It seems like this huge task that I could never complete. And that's usually what it is for me, like, getting dressed for the day. I'm like, usually I'll leave my pajamas on, because I'm not leaving the house. If I'm leaving the house, I'll throw a dress on or something. But I, like you said, I do fall into the trap of, like, well, it doesn't matter anyway what I look like because I'm going to be at the house with my kid.
Yep.
And I do think that's totally understandable for some days. But actually putting the effort in made me realize, like, oh, it wasn't, like, that big of a deal that I made it in my head to be. Like, it's not that much harder to just choose something that looks nicer. And it made me feel very put together. So I'm gonna try and continue with that.
Yeah.
And try to make myself feel a little nicer.
I do the same thing where I wear, like, a oversized t-shirt to bed for pajamas, and then I'll just wake up and put some bottoms on, may or may not put a bra on underneath. It just depends on the day and if I'm going out somewhere, or if I have the motivation in me to do that. And that's usually what it looks like if I'm just going to be around the house. But it is such a mood affector. And it's honestly, like, I know that because whenever I do force myself to put in the small amount of effort it takes to actually, like, care about how I present myself, how I dress in the day, I feel so much better. And I know that, but then it's so easy to forget that. Yeah. And that's why I feel like I keep falling in that pit, is like, oh, it's just so much work. I don't really need to have to go pick out an outfit, and, like, look nice. It doesn't matter. But it really does just so much. And even a while back, I made a reel that said something like, if you want to dress for the job you want, then doing your laundry is a great place to start. And it was a quip on the little phrase about dressing for the job that you want. And as homemakers and as mothers, we should also dress for the job that we want. And oftentimes that looks like, putting on our apron or whatever it is, as our uniform. But the joke was, if you dress for the job that you want, doing your laundry is a great place to start, because you can't dress for the job that you want if you don't have any clothes available. If everything's heaped up in a pile on the floor, like mine is currently right now, then it does feel impractical, and it is harder than it needs to be to go, dig through or completely hang up an entire closet worth of clothes before you get dressed. That is a lot of work. But if things are actually put where they're supposed to go, and it's organized and it's already taken care of, and you've done the work ahead of time, then it is a simple thing to just go to the closet, go to the dresser and pull something out and put it on. So if that's not encouragement for anyone else to get on top of your game and, you know, not only find something pretty to wear for yourself, for your husband, for your day, for your mood, if not doing that, like, definitely start making sure that your clothes are available to you so that you can do that. If that's not for anyone else, it's certainly for me right now. So I'm going to take that to heart, and whenever we get off of this recording, I'm going to go fold some more clothes.
Yep. Well, we're at my parents' house right now, and so before I got on to the podcast, I was out over at our house. I met up with our realtor so he could, like, walk through the house and kind of remember what it looked like, and then he went back to his office and he's drawing up some numbers to see what it would be like if we sold the house, if we rented the house, and then our options. Anyway, so I grabbed a trash bag, and then there was a bunch of clothes that I hadn't finished that was in my laundry basket. So I shoved them in the trash bag, so I'm doing the laundry here. So yes, that's what I will also be doing, is laundry.
Laundry is just it's either such a joy or it's such a struggle. I feel like there is no in between. Because when you're on top of your laundry, it's like, I'm on top of the world. Nothing can defeat me right now. Because I have defeated it already. You know? And then, because, like, laundry never ends. We're always wearing clothes. Mm-hmm. Our spouses, our kids are always wearing clothes. So there's always going to be laundry to be done every single day. And the moment that you are not on top of it, the moment that you just say, okay, well, I'm just going to set this basket here, is the moment that it all falls apart. Because if you let one aspect of it go, then the rest of it just snowballs so fast. And it's like climbing a mountain to try to get back on top of it. But then once you're back on top of the mountain, then it's like, okay, you know, this is nothing. This is fine. But here I am admitting that I found myself in apparently multiple pits lately. One of them being laundry, one of them being caring for myself in the way that I look during the day. So, yeah. Gotta get myself together.
Okay, there was like two topics that I wanted to bring up. One of them is kind of like Instagram drama, which I don't want to like make that our thing that we do. So if you don't want me to bring it up, I won't. But the other topic I was going to ask you about was like breastfeeding / modesty. Is breastfeeding without a cover inherently immodest? And like, how do you personally go about that? I'm covering right now because this is going to be on the internet. So if I ever happen to so change my mind, I would not like my boob to be on the internet. So just, you know.
Oh, that is... You're asking hot topics. People love to get really up in arms about breastfeeding and modesty and normalization and sexuality or non-sexual and all of those things. And I think it's just... Sometimes I think it's amusing. Sometimes I think it's warranted. But most of the time, I think it is just societal misconception and the fact that we live in a secular society that does not really revere does not revere not necessarily modesty, but the sanctity of our bodies. And this, because I've had people ask me this before, and I've shared stuff on my birth page on Instagram, but I haven't talked a lot about it publicly. But here would be my semi-succinct thoughts. I don't think I've ever done anything concise in my life, so I can't say it's gonna be short, but my semi-succinct thoughts. I think that breastfeeding is inherently not sexual because your breasts were designed to feed your baby. That is much like the cow and its udder. It was designed to feed the baby calf. There's no sexuality involved in that. But there are hormones. And there is just the physiological process of whenever you feed your baby, you experience oxytocin. Your baby has that same love hormone regulating them. There is also just the objective fact that men find pleasure in women's breasts. And there's nothing wrong with that. I want my husband to find pleasure in my body because he is my husband. The Bible even talks about in Song of Solomon that he should have joy in the wife of his youth, and that it talks about her breasts, it talks about other parts of her body, and how he should find joy in her. I think that's wonderful. Our bodies are given to each other according to Scripture. So it's only natural to me that my husband is going to look at me, his wife, and say, that is beautiful. But also, it is only natural to me that other men are going to respond the same way, especially because it should be a beautiful and an attractive thing to a man whenever a woman is utilizing her body to do what God designed her to do. Whenever I am breastfeeding my baby, I am utilizing my breasts in the way God intended them for, and I think that that is naturally attractive to a man for the purposes of reproduction. That's just the way that our bodies work. So, while it is not sexual what I'm doing, I can understand why a man would be attracted to that and say, wow, that is nice. That is pleasurable to view. Not to say like, oh wow, that really like makes me have the hots, but that does incite a certain feeling inside of the other sex. I understand why. I get that. So for that reason, among others, though I know that breastfeeding is not itself a sexual act, and I have no issues with being open about the fact that I am feeding my baby for the sake of me keeping my body sacred for the man I have committed myself to for the rest of my life, and my body now belongs to him just as his body belongs to me. I want to keep that sacred. I want to keep that sanctity. And so I am going to cover up whenever they're like, if I'm breastfeeding, typically I have on a skirt and a blouse where I can just very, with no issues, I can pull up my shirt and I can feed him. You don't see any part of my breast. But sometimes I wear things where, I have to open it from the top and my entire chest would be exposed if I were to, just openly breastfeed. And for me, I'm not comfortable with that. My husband is not comfortable with that because he doesn't want other men seeing what I have to offer. That's for him. Those are for his eyes, and so I keep that for his eyes. And so I do choose to cover with a blanket or, something, or maybe just go sit in another room if I'm going to nurse. So if I can't just do that without it being very subtle. So that's my thoughts on breastfeeding and modesty and whatnot. And I know some people will take a large argument with, I'm sure, probably some of the things that I said, but because I think that's one of the biggest arguments that I hear is like, well, men should be averting their eyes. They should be. It's the male gaze that is the problem. And while I can agree that yes, men should be responsible for if they are lusting after something, that is their own issue. You should, as a male, you should take responsibility. As a woman, you also should take responsibility and not become a stumbling block for something that is natural for a man to respond to. So, and that's not just applicable in breastfeeding, that's applicable in many other things. So, that's my 10 cents. Do you have any particular thoughts, or like, what are, have y'all been talking about it recently, or like what that got brought up for?
Yeah, me and my husband have been like on the modesty topic recently. Just in our daily whatever conversation. I don't know, because he was in the shower. We were in the bathroom the other day, and I was like, okay, Christian, give me your best argument for modesty. And then he gave me one, and I said, okay, give me your best argument against modesty. And he was like, well, what's the definition of modesty? And I was like, I don't really know, because I know in the Bible it talks about like not adorning yourself to grab attention to yourself. But there's nothing in the Bible that says your skirt hem has to be 1/4 of an inch close to the ground. Like there's nothing, no guidelines like of what it should look like. And so I was like discussing with him, and I was like, well, is it like a heart issue? Is it a clothing issue? Is it both? And then we kind of got into the topic of like, well, it's different in every single culture. If you go to Africa, there are some tribes that don't wear tops. The women just walk around, and that's normal for them. They don't sexualize that. Here in America, you can't do that. Unless you're in Oregon, because we were at the river this one time. Oregon there's no like nudity law. So people are allowed to be nude. In Oregon for the most part without really having repercussions from the law.
Okay.
And so me and Christian? Or I think it was just me and Daphne. Could have been me and Christian. We're at the river one day, and I look down, and there's this couple, and she's got her top off and just a bikini, underwear, swimsuit, and I was like, okay.
Don't see that every day.
Right?
Well, I mean, you do see that every day. It's just not yours. It's someone else's.
Anyway, so like different cultures have different perceptions of what is sexual, what is not sexual. Even another story was I was talking to this woman at our church that we go to, and she said that there was some Christian friends from Poland at their pool party. The husbands, the wives were all there, the kids, and this woman was still breastfeeding her child, breastfed her child, popped her breast out, just there, like nothing covering it. And then she said she just like let her kid pop on and off while it was just hanging out. And she was like, my husband and the other husband were like, okay, we are having a conversation. We are locking eyes right now. We are not looking. But she was from Poland, and then she explained how like that was like totally normal there. So, and like, did that woman have ill intentions with her actions? I don't think she did, because to me, from what it sounded like that was just what they did in her country. So I feel like that's what I struggle with a lot, is because we live here in America and a lot of things are sexualized, does that then mean we should dress more modestly to protect ourselves? Or is it every single place that you go, you should dress a certain way because that's what's modest in your definition? I don't know. I have no idea. So
I think you definitely still have to make known that modesty in and of itself is not how we dress.
Yeah.
I am outwardly modest because of what is inside. And so modesty comes from a heart posture, from a place of your spirit. Because to look at it from just an aspect of dressing, how you look, you can't have one without the other, I don't think, because if you are the most righteous looking woman, to what we could conjure up in our minds and say, okay, this is the picture of righteousness. If you looked like that, but you had the worst attitude of anyone in the room, then the way that you dress isn't going to matter to anyone around you, because what flows out of your mouth and out of your heart, out of the abundance of the heart the mouth speaketh, that is what is actually going to be evident, to show who you truly are. But on the flip side, if you are the most humble, meek-spirited person, and whenever you speak, people are like, wow, they're drawn to you in that. But what is on the exterior is not reflective of that at all. Then it's going to be this like disjointed thing where, okay, well, this does not match what's happening here, and it's almost like there's this creation of confusion because of it. And the scripture speaks in a lot of places to this aspect of what is on the inside flows outward. And Jesus even talked about, when he was speaking to the Pharisees, if you're looking at a cup and the cup on the outside is dirty, then it doesn't matter if on the inside, if it's clean water, you don't want to drink out of the cup because the outside of the cup is filthy. And likewise, if the outside of the cup is clean, but the inside of the cup is dirty, you still don't want to drink out of it because what's inside is dirty, either way. But you have to first wash the inside of the cup to make it clean, and that flows out and washes the outside so that the entirety of the vessel is clean. And that is reflected on the inside and the outside. You have to have both. You can't have one without the other. And so to narrow modesty down to just a list of rules on how we should dress or present ourselves physically is doing a disservice. You absolutely have to talk about the heart and, what is on the inside. But you also have to consider that that is going to affect what is on the outside. And I think that God does a really good job of what he's done for a very long time, and that is conviction of the heart. And so I think that the best way that you can approach it is allow God to speak to your heart and let him convict you in the areas that you need to be convicted in. And that can be hard for us as humans with sinful natures, because we want to go against what God has stated. But whenever we are willing to let him speak to us and say, okay, this is maybe not exactly the right thing. Let's go this direction, or let me guide you here instead, and be open to that, then he will always reveal the right things to you. That doesn't mean that we're always going to have it right from the very beginning. We're not going to get all the checklists, not to say that there even is a checklist, but that is why salvation is an ongoing thing where we are always working toward the goal, which is being continually saved. And, Paul writes about that, where he says that he pressed on, he kept on running the race. He didn't just join in on the race and then, okay, well, I'm a part now. Like, he kept on. He had to continue pressing on every single day. He had to continue dying daily to his flesh in repentance every single day. And so just that continual perseverance, God will continually reveal things to us. But, I mean, there's naturally, everybody's going to have what they deem as modest. And I have what for myself I consider to be modest. And that has ebbed and flowed over the years. I've heard pastors and ministers preach and pull things out of the scripture that weren't there, that, to tell you that it's unholy for you to use hairspray or chapstick, or, like, your heels can't be more than an inch high, because that's provocative, and like some really crazy things. And if you've never been on that side of the church spectrum, then trust me, it's there. If you're on more of the, I don't want to say loose, but the, less conservative side, then trust me, it exists. And I don't agree with all of it. But I have, over time, allowed God to convict me of, okay, this is really what it appears that the scripture is saying, and what I think God is wanting me to do. And oh my goodness, my train of thought just like hit a brick wall, because there was something you said earlier that I was going to address. And about the culture, that is one of those things where I think that is a slippery slope, because if you apply the logic that I've seen people wanting to apply, where like, okay, well, this is normalized in this culture, so is it acceptable to be normalized here? Or like, when does it matter? Why? If you apply a similar logic to salvation, then you could say, okay, well, it's normal for this culture to believe this about God, and that is their version of faith, and that's okay for them. I have what is my version of faith. And then we have this all roads lead to God. But scripturally, we know that's not true. All roads do not lead to God. There is one true salvation, and that is alone through Jesus Christ. So while I can absolutely appreciate different aspects of different religions across the world, and there are a lot of crossovers and blends between them, I cannot, just because I can appreciate and I can respect the things that they do in other religions, I cannot look at that and say, okay, well, you were just getting to God in your own direction. I don't believe that that's true. And I believe that there is one way to Christ. Similarly, I think that reflective in Scripture, as God's people, if we look historically, we can apply that to now. We can look in the Old Testament and how God treated, I don't want to say treated necessarily, but how God interacted with other tribes, other cultures at that time. The things within those cultures and those tribes were normal for them then as well. But that was not representative of what God wanted for his people. And whenever they were unwilling to come to God and turn away from their sinfulness, that is whenever God rejected them, because they rejected him first. And so I think while there's, yes, lots of things I can appreciate in other cultures, whether that's, areas of normalization and breastfeeding or different things of that nature, I cannot look at all cultures. Why can I not say that word? Cultures. I can't look at all cultures and say objectively, okay, well, because walking around topless for the women is normal in that culture, then that's okay for them. I know I can't do that here, but that's just okay for them. Objectively, I can look at Scripture and say that whenever Adam and Eve realized that they were naked in the garden, and they tried to cover themselves with things that would cover their private areas, God said, no, that's not sufficient. I now have to sacrifice an animal and shed blood for you because of your sin, and now I'm going to have to make a coat of skin, of animal skin, to cover you. And so if that was the line in the ledger in the Garden of Eden, whenever God at first ever had to slay an animal to cover what they had done and then cover their nakedness that they were aware of, then I think that regardless of the culture and regardless of what's okay in those cultures, you still have to live by what does God say is okay. And, there are many roads, and many of them are wide, but there is one narrow way. So, not to get all theological on you or anything, but
no, it's fine.
did that answer your question? I don't know.
No, yeah, that was great. I think what I meant like Christian cultures throughout the world, not necessarily secular cultures.
Okay. Which I think the same would even still apply. I mean, I can say personally, I don't agree with all sects of Christianity. That's,
right.
I think we have so many denominations because we have so many different interpretations of Scripture.
Yeah.
And so that right there just speaks to itself that not all Christians agree with each other. So, what is that conversation? Like, are all Christians on the same narrow road, or are some of us on wide paths that we think are the right way but really are not? Or do we have a skewed view of what actually does God intend and desire for us? And are we all wrong? Or, there's so many different hypotheses and, questions that you can ask. So,
yeah,
those are the deep shower thoughts, I feel like, coming out.
Yeah. I don't know if you watch, I've mentioned it to you before, I don't know if you watch Paul and Morgan, but they're doing a series, it's called 24 Hours With, and they're spending a day with different prominent people who claim to be Christian.
Didn't you send me the lady, the campus preacher?
Yeah, Sister Cindy.
Oh my word.
The ho no mo phase.
Oh my goodness. Okay, which I started like watching her videos, and apparently my husband knows the song of the margarita song.
Oh yes, I know
From
that.
he said apparently it's years old, and I had never heard it before. And he
Oh,
knew
okay.
that version and apparently the not Christian version that the rapper, some
Yeah.
female rapper ended up like making a parody of it. And,
Mm-hmm.
and I was like, oh my word. Yeah. Okay. So now I know who you're talking about now.
Okay. They just came out with a new one. With I don't know the man's name, but he runs a podcast on YouTube, and it's called The New Evangelicals. And I think he also kind of, sort of does it with his wife, so that's why it's plural. But it's mostly him. And you're just talking about, like, there's so many different denominations of Christianity, and so many claim to be a Christian, but, like, would disagree with another Christian on this theological view. I don't remember his name, but the man who runs the New Evangelical that they were spending the day with, he believes some wacky things. But he was a very good debater, so he made it come across
Really convincing.
so good, so convincing. And so at the end of the video, he asks Paul, doing the interview, he's like, well, do you think I'm a Christian? And Paul wouldn't give an answer because he was like, I see some things that you believe that are concerning to me that would make me think otherwise, that you are a Christian. It would make me, what you believe would make me think that you aren't a Christian.
Wow.
So he wouldn't give an answer. He didn't say that, no, I do think you're a Christian, or no, I don't think you're a Christian.
Do you recall like any of the wild things that like made him concerned that he didn't think that?
Yeah. So he believed in abortion. He was for abortion. He doesn't believe that the wife should submit to the husband. He doesn't believe that the Bible should be, from what it came across, he doesn't believe that the Bible is like the Word of God. He believes it's the Word of God, but like it's good for correction and teaching, but we shouldn't hold it so tightly to like, this is what we should follow. He thinks it's like good advice. And then he was like
So
saying like,
just for like the moral values, essentially.
I guess, yeah. And then he also also said that he disregards a lot of things that Paul says in the writings to the church. He's like, yeah, I don't believe that you should submit to your wife. Sorry, Paul, don't believe that. Like, he just cherry picks what he wants to believe.
Or that the wife should submit to the husband, rather.
Yeah, what did I say? Sorry.
You said that you should submit to your wife.
Oh, okay. Other way around. And then
all these feminists are gonna be like, okay, I can get behind that.
Okay, let's do it.
I think I actually like the idea of submission now.
My train of thought. He doesn't believe that everything in the Bible is literal. Like, he doesn't believe. He believes it's possible that there wasn't actually a 40-day flood. He believes it's possible that the manna that came down from heaven didn't actually come down from heaven. It was just appeared. So like the miracles in the Bible, specifically in the New Testament, Old Testament, he believes that they're like, not, we shouldn't take them literal. So like the 40-day flood wasn't actually the 40-day flood. It could have been something totally different. So a lot of things that I was like, But then he was like, well, all the Bible says that I have to do to like become a Christian is to follow the way of Jesus. That's what he kept saying, was like, I follow the way of Jesus. Not like, and they even, like, Paul asked him, like, so what do you have to do to be saved? And he was like, well, you have to follow the teachings of Jesus and try to live by what Jesus taught us to live by. And he never once said that I remember the verse where it says you must profess at your mouth that Jesus is Lord, believe that he rose and died, and then you will be saved. He never said that. He just kept saying, like, well, you have to follow the way of Jesus.
So very cryptic.
Yeah, so. Yeah. Yeah.
Interesting.
So.
Sounds like him and I would disagree on a lot.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. His wife, I don't believe is a Christian anymore. They came out of very strict Christian upbringing, so I think that made them sway, like, way to the other side. But they're named the New Evangelical. Is evangelical, like, a strict sect of Christianity, or is evangelical, like, a new?
No, I mean, the term evangelical, at least in how I have always seen it used, is to reference very conservative preaching of the gospel of Christ.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so that sounds like what's the term that in the last few years become really popular? Deconstruction.
Yes.
Like people deconstructing their faith.
Yeah.
That's what that sounds like to me.
Yeah. I would agree.
Which that's its own interesting thing.
Yeah.
But anyhow. Well, okay, so was that the Instagram drama that you were talking about, or was it something else?
No. Okay, so I follow Corinne on Instagram. She has like super long, dark / black hair. She's like the non-toxic, like your crunchy mom friend. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about. She lives in Washington. She recently had a free birth because her midwife didn't show up for a while after the birth. I don't know her full Instagram handle, but it's Corinne. Kurin.
I'm gonna look it up.
Yeah.
Kurin?
Yeah, Kurin, Corinne.
Oh no, I'm falling. I have my setup very precariously set up. Corinne. And what's the deal with Corinne?
Okay. So she currently is doing like reviews of like popular crunchy non-toxic products. So like, and I think currently she's in like the MLM category. So like Happy Juice. What are some other things? There's some like MLM like makeup that she's been reviewing.
Okay, talk to me about the Happy Juice, because I've seen like people talking about Happy Juice like, wow, I would never promote this. Yeah. But I can't for the life of me. I've never seen one actually saying like, oh, you should buy Happy Juice.
Oh, really?
What is it? I thought at first it was like a recipe. I don't know.
So Happy Juice is a company. The company's name, I believe, is like, oh gosh, I don't want to say it wrong. but that's not the name of the company. There's a name of the company that sells Happy Juice. And then they also sell like supplements and other things. So Happy Juice is a drink that is supposed to heal your gut, quote unquote. It's a mix of 3 different powders. So they'll send you 3 different boxes. It comes in like the, like, you know, like electrolyte powder mixes will come in those like tube sticks. So it comes with those 3 different ones. One is like a prebiotic, one's a probiotic, and then one's like the flavoring, I think, of Happy Juice. You're supposed to mix it all together. They have mango flavor, watermelon flavor, and grape, I think. It is ridiculously expensive. Okay, I was like, oh, let me just try a packet. It's like $130 for a little, I think, month.
You are joking. That's
yeah, it's very expensive.
That's so stupid.
So, yeah, that's what Happy Juice is. It is supposed to heal your gut and make you lose all this weight, which that's a red flag for me. When something claims, like, it's going to heal your gut and you're going to lose so much weight and you're going to depuff and debloat. I'm like, sure. So that's what it is. And there's a bunch of influencers who will promote the product with like before and afters of their weight loss from, you know, this one product, but they won't show what the other lifestyle changes they've been making are. So Corinne is like testing out these MLM products, and Happy Juice is one of them. She tried it once. She ordered it, tried it once, gave her review of it. She said it tasted bearable to drink, but not like what everybody was like promoting it as. Because people will promote it as like the Starbucks healthy pink drink. Oh, it tastes amazing. It tastes so good. And she was like, it tastes bearable to drink, but it's not yummy or delicious. So
okay, I pulled up her page, and I do know her. I don't follow her.
Yeah.
And this is Corinne Adele.
Okay.
Yeah, I've seen her stuff pop up on Facebook Reels.
Yes.
And so I have seen her. And I think the one of the biggest ones that I saw was like she was turning her walk-in closet into like a baby room, and people were freaking out because it didn't have a window, and they're like, that shelf is gonna fall on her in the middle of the night and kill your baby. And they were going so hard on her, and she was like, first of all, she's co-sleeping with me, so no, it's not. I just wanted to like to do something cute. And then they were like, you're gonna kill your baby because she's sleeping in the bed with you. It was so dumb. Okay, but I do know who you're talking about, so continue.
Okay. Yeah, so anyway, she gave the review of it, and then yesterday she posted a story, and she was like, talking about how one of her followers had sent her a specific Instagram account that does a deep dive into the company, like how they got started, what ingredients they use, like all of that. So then she said that she kind of like went down the rabbit trail into Happy Juice, into the company, and decided to not drink it anymore because she was breastfeeding and she just didn't feel comfortable drinking it while breastfeeding. It also has, I think she said 55 milligrams of caffeine in the mixes. So because she was breastfeeding, she didn't want to consume caffeine, as well as some other issues, but she didn't necessarily say what they were. So then today she posted some more stories, and I haven't actually finished watching them, but I started watching them. And she was talking about that a fellow Instagram influencer that she had been friends with, and would consider a friend, saw that she reviewed the Happy Juice and wasn't going to continue drinking it because she was breastfeeding. and the friend sent her a DM and was like, "This honestly gives me the ick. Sorry, can't be friends anymore."
What?
So then she goes like talking about like these MLM people and how they believe like Happy Juice is like this god that's gonna save their gut, and like how they make Happy Juice their whole personality instead of Jesus being who they find their identity in.
I'm going through her MLM highlight right now, and I think I'm seeing what you're talking about. This is crazy.
Anyways, it's just, and I think I know who she's talking about, the Instagram person that she's talking about. And I was about to do like a search and like figure out if that was her or not. But I think I know who she's talking about.
She says right here, like, apparently that woman told her that she was having an attitude, that she was manipulating her, that she lacks empathy, she's not a good friend, and she said, she said it's like this generation says certain things like weird and ick, and it's just like she was using these trendy disses. And that's wild to me. Things that are very trendy. A trendy way to diss someone. I've never heard that. A trendy way to diss someone.
I don't know.
That's so interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, she just updated something like 4 hours ago about it.
Okay.
And then, oh, okay. You said the deep dive on Happy Juice. She linked ancestral fertility.
Oh.
It's her account that she apparently.
Okay.
Yes, I love ancestral fertility. Her account is amazing, and so I do recall a while back she did a post on the Happy Juice and like why she would not use it. And I think that's probably what she linked to. Yeah.
I need to go look at
it. Wow. Social media? Girl, I can't talk today. I need to take a nap. Oh, okay, let me try again. Social media influencer culture is bananas. And the problem is, and I am no influencer by any stretch of the imagination, but I think this is why I take such frequent pauses or breaks or whatever you want to call it from social media. Because I frequently find myself struggling to like stay on top of posting things.
Yeah.
Partially because I have 2 accounts, which is dumb, but that was a personal problem. But also, like, I realize and I consciously check myself, because even though, like, I don't share my child's face on social media, I don't share personal things about my life. It's very much, like, as an educational format more than anything. I still find myself going through my day and, like, the thought will pop into my brain, like, oh, I could take a video of that, like, that could be good content. And, like, even if it's, you know, I'm not monetizing my life by any means, like, you know, some family vloggers do, and they're making, you know, money off of their children. I'm not doing that. But yet still, it bothers me so much that I don't feel like I can go through my day and just be entirely present in what I'm doing without thinking like, oh, I can stop and like set up my phone to take a video so that I can like make a reel out of this. Like sometimes I just want to bake the bread and not post a video about it.
Yeah.
And I don't do that. I don't always post a video about it, but it's like the thought will occur even if I like don't do it. And it's, I don't know. So then, like, becoming so popular and, you know, just like everything about you being on social media and your life just being out there for everyone. And then whenever something as simple as you share a review that someone disagrees with, then like it's an entire attack on their personality and their whole life. And, you know, all of a sudden you, who they have probably never met in person, you've betrayed them. And because they think they know you because you're out here on social media, you know, showing the world all these parts of your life. But it's just such a weird thing. And I just wish we could go back to face-to-face interactions with people, like real life social connection. But that is not the world that we live in. And that makes me very, very sad.
Yep.
Well, I have a baby who just popped up out of a stroller for his nap, so I think this is a good place to stop. And I've enjoyed chatting with you over the course of the last 2 days, not just one. But we will see you next week here for our season 1 finale episode. Hopefully we have something special in store for y'all, but we hope you've enjoyed just listening to us chat. Just a chat between friends and, you know, talking about random things. So we'll be back here for the last episode of the season next week, and then there will be a 3-week hiatus before season 2. Yeah, so join us next week, and we'll see you then. Bye.
Bye.